Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Potluck, your everything and anything talk and entertainment TV show. My name is Laura Hartman, and I am your host. Today, we have a wonderful guest joining us who is multi-talented with the natural healing arts. In fact, he has traveled the world to learn some of his techniques so that he can help people with physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual issues or struggles, especially in this day and age. So please welcome to the show, and it's quite an honor to have Randy Goldberg. So welcome to the show.
Hi there. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So how did you get started in, you do cranial massage therapy, you do Reiki, you do an amazing family astrology, which I know has
and astrology.
And just healing arts. What brought you to that?
Oh, well, as a teenager, I was questioning and searching and started getting into philosophical exploration. And when I started reading Eastern philosophy, it just really set me on fire, and I just had a great passion for it and dove very deep into it. And in fact, eventually ended up going to India. I started doing some Tai Chi and yoga and meditation, and which eventually led me to Calcutta, India, where I lived for 2 years and studied with my guru, my teacher there. And in fact, I ended up getting so involved that I then decided to become a yogic monk in that tradition, and spent 2 years in a training monastery, which was actually in Sweden.
Okay.
It's people from all over the world, and that was 2 years, and then lived some years as a monk actually in France. And so altogether, for about 10 years, I traveled around and was learning different healing modalities. I'm a massage therapist, and I specialize in craniosacral therapy.
Sure. And you might want to I heard about craniosacral healing, I guess maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I went to you. I'd never heard about that before. So can you explain to people what that is exactly?
Like I said, I'm a licensed massage therapist, and craniosacral is a particular modality that uses a listening touch, and you work very lightly with the client. Part of the theory is that if you pull against the muscle and you try to force something, the body will tense up. It will actually, the muscles will resist.
Okay.
So we try to slide in below the radar of that resistance reflex. And it's basically sort of a listening touch. It's kind of on the edge between Reiki and different energy work and then structural massage work.
Sure.
And it works a lot with the nervous system. We do a lot of decompressing of the spine. And it works with the full body. It's the client is fully clothed, and we do a lot of work with the neck and getting full extension there, and even the bones of the cranium. And people often have very big shifts from healing physical issues and traumas, and also emotional and psychological, different shifts and breakthroughs.
So how did you get interested in that?
What all came out of all my healing work basically came out of my meditation and spiritual journey. I became sensitive to energy and realized that I could work with people and sensing their energy.
Sure.
And so initially I got into chakra balancing work and things like that, and eventually got more into massage and then the craniosacral work.
Okay. And the astrology, the family astrology, how did you...
Yeah, so Family Constellation is actually separate. And so I teach workshops in a modality that's called Family Constellation Therapy, and it's a system of ancestral healing.
Okay.
And it was developed by a psychologist in Germany. His name is Bert Hellinger. It's very big around the world, particularly in Europe. It's not that well known here in the United States.
Right.
And what it does is, often we can see that people's life is kind of driven by a certain script, but it seems that those scripts get passed down from their parents and from different family members, even going back several generations, that there's patterns that get repeated.
Right.
There's big impacts that happen in family, and we see echoes of that in future generations. And so in this system, I do individual work, but often I do it in a workshop. So there might be 5 or 10 people
Sure.
sitting in a circle in a group, and somebody will pick someone to represent someone from their family, or it doesn't have to be any issue that they're having in their life that they want to help with.
Right.
And it's a way of visually mapping them. We'll have the people stand and represent different people or different aspects with what they're dealing with.
Right.
And they become like antennas, and we just get to see in the field what emerges. And it's a beautiful way of finding out unconsciously what is going on, how you might be held energetically and not realize that those blocks are there. And then the people will start to feel different feelings, they'll want to move different places, so there'll be shifts that happen. And so as a trained family constellation facilitator, I help the movement. There's basically love and the life force that's in everyone's life that we inherit from our parents, and when that gets blocked, we find ways to free it up, and everybody in the family system gets acknowledged, gets honored, they have their place, and a disorder and
Sure.
is often, there can be confusion in the field of the person's family and different issues that they're facing.
Right.
In their
So
life too.
is there any, like, how like people can do like a typical like astrology reading? Is that intertwined in that?
Astrology then is another thing that I do, and it's completely separate, even though Family Constellation has the word constellation. It actually has nothing to do with astrology.
Okay.
But when I was in India, I studied the Indian form of astrology. It's called Jyotish. It's Vedic astrology.
Okay.
And I do both Western and the Indian Vedic astrology.
Because you did an astrology on mine, and I got printed papers, and
Sure,
and
yeah.
that was like right on
computer
cue about everything.
Prints out the chart, and what
Sure.
it is it's looking where were the planets when you were born. So
Right.
it's like as if you had a camera. And that's kind of a archetypal map of how those energies flow in your psyche.
Okay.
And I do my readings from a Jungian perspective, so we look at the deep archetypal influences that are there. And it's basically a symbolic, poetic, mythopoetic language.
Okay.
It's about exploration, about becoming aware of different energies that you are working in your life. And,
Right.
So it's all about growth and learning.
Okay. And then the family astrology, or the constellation, that's different.
Yeah, that's not. But so I've been doing, like I said, there aren't that many people that do the Indian system, and I've been able to be interviewed by CNN, Washington Post, NPR for my astrology work. So it's been really great. I've actually been interviewed twice by the Washington Post and recently by Circa TV. So yeah, I've got a lot of exposure for my astrology work, and people really like the fact that they can get, there's two kind of different perspectives. There's a slight shift of in the Western astrology chart and the Indian chart. So the Western tends to be a little bit more psychological, and the Indian is a little bit more karmic and predictive.
Okay.
So it's really just great to see they're both complementary and just kind of seeing the same thing from different angles.
Sure.
But people really like that.
So are you able to do that for yourself, or have you done it for yourself, or does somebody have to do it for you?
No. I mean, it's a very intensive study. It's like getting a PhD. It's this incredible amount of material, and I don't focus that much on my own chart, but absolutely, it's something that I look at, and as I've learned.
So what else did you bring from India over to here?
Yoga and meditation, and so I've been a meditation teacher for many years, and
and
teach philosophy and different things.
And you said that you, for the ancestry, constellation.
Family constellation,
Yeah, you bring like a group of like 10 people together
so
to do.
every month or two, you can see on my website, astrodc.com, I have an events page, and I have upcoming events. I actually have one coming up in Baltimore with a young working group.
Okay.
And
now, do you usually do them like? So in Baltimore, there's a place that you'll be doing it, but
it's always different. I'm going to be presenting at the Friends Conference in Religion and Psychology. That's in Annville, Pennsylvania, Lebanon Valley College.
Okay.
That's over Memorial Day weekend. And
oh, nice.
If you just go to astrodc.com.
Right, we can find all the information.
Yeah, and my Arlington Healing Center, that's where I see clients for doing craniosacral therapy and for doing astrology readings.
Okay.
So on the Arlington Falls Church border. Right there.
Great. So what have been some of the challenges for you along your path, or have you had any? Well,
I'm always, I'm very open, and I keep my feet in both worlds as far as traditional medical approaches and then the alternative. So I'm also an EMT. I've been an ambulance driver and do stuff like that. I'm a CNA. I've worked in the hospice world and done hospice work, and I'm also a licensed massage therapist.
Right.
But my main love and interest is focusing on the complementary and holistic and alternative healing. Doing things, being an EMT, you rush in, and so Western is great for if there's an extreme crisis happening right now, but for chronic issues and for deeper things that are hard to diagnose, to figure out, that go on for long times, that's where finding alternative approaches that usually don't have the side effects that a lot of Western medicine type of things might have, and it's also preventive medicine, because a lot of the problems, we go from problem to problem and don't get to the root. Well, a lot of times people need to shift to a more healthy lifestyle, take better care of themselves, and get to the underlying issues.
Now, do you work with children at all? Because there's
work with all ages.
All ages,
and even craniosacral. People get trauma babies coming down the birth canal. It's such a small area and a lot of pressure on the head. So all the way to 90-year-olds. So there's no age restriction.
Okay. So you've been doing this for how long now?
Like I said, my journey started in high school.
So,
most of my life.
Okay. But you were over in India, like how long ago?
It was during the 80s that I did 10 years of travel.
Okay. And so during because like over the decades, things have changed, and things have gotten better in respect for people becoming more aware about natural healing. But then there's that turn where people are being sunken into like the media and the foods that we eat today, and just a lot of stuff. Have you had to change what you do to kind of go with the time to help people? Do you know what I mean?
Well, you always have to adjust. Your message gets heard, but actually, it's been an amazing awakening. In DC, there didn't used to be very much yoga. And now there's yoga studios everywhere. There's been a huge shift, and there's vegetarian restaurants, there's just a lot of things shifting, a lot of awareness.
A lot more awareness,
yeah. Absolutely. So it's been good, and it's a little bit difficult. Craniosacral therapy is difficult to describe. There's books written about it and things, but it's really something you need to experience to
better understand it,
and also with the Family Constellation workshops and that work, again, it's very hard to explain. Basically, it's kind of like neo-shamanic ancestral healing, and it's like people don't know what that is. So figuring out a way that, this is 3D mapping of when you can sit outside. So the client will describe what the issue is going on, then they'll just sit down and see what unfolds. So they get to see their problem in front of them. So they're outside of it, and you get this whole new perspective. So some ways it's similar to psychodrama, people acting out things, but here in the Family Constellation system, you tell people just to stand there and see what you notice in your body. So there's nothing that's scripted, there's nothing that our ego or our will is guiding. It all organically emerges, and that's the power of it. You find out this unconscious. There'll be people that they had a murder in their family. They have these different secrets. You can do it with people who are adopted. It can be very powerful for them, because often they don't recognize the connection they have with their birth parent. And it's important for them to link up with those energies and to acknowledge that gift of life is why they're here today.
Right, and there's some things for people that are adopted where stuff is just innate. You're born with it. Yep.
Yeah, and so it's very powerful that secrets get revealed and things that are hidden come to light, and this really helps people to grow, move forward in their life in a good way.
So if somebody comes to you, like one of your sessions, and stuff comes out, I mean, they're not just healed right then and there. I mean, they're probably at the beginning of like
my work is like, I call it homeopathy for the soul. It's like dropping a pebble in the water and the ripples out, and so slowly, healing process happens from our core and slowly moves out. And if you're sailing this huge ship, you just do a small turn of the rudder will completely change the course. And so absolutely, it's not that instantaneously, miraculously something changes, but moving forward, they're freed up and they have a whole different sense of their life and what they want to do, and just feeling a whole different energy in their body.
Sure. No, I can see that. But if there, stuff comes out, and then all of a sudden, maybe after some time they start struggling with whatever stuff had come out, do they come back to you, or can they come back to you?
People are like onions. We all have layers, so nothing is instant. Growth is continual. We're always going to be learning and growing. So absolutely, there'll always be new issues that need to be addressed.
And do you work with like other healers? So like if somebody's having such and such problem, you would recommend.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's part of being part of the healing community. I run 3 meetups. One is on alternative health, so it's the DC Alternative Health Meetup Group.
Okay.
If you go to meetup.com, search DC, and then search alternative health. Another one on Jungian psychology, Carl Jung and depth psychology, and then another one on astrology.
Okay.
So I actively, for years, have run these meetups to build the community. Different people are presenting at the different meetups, and we have really strong community, a lot of interaction and networking, and
a support system.
Absolutely, yeah.
So has anybody, just out of curiosity, has stuff come out where that person becomes like in denial?
Let's say...
and they don't want to face it.
One thing I always have, particularly in my family constellation workshops, is a box of Kleenex, because the tears just start flowing. It's very powerful, deep work, and sometimes it's overwhelming for the people. Often a person might kind of close their eyes while this is going on, and I have to kind of reassure them and get them in their body and just give them a little support and just gently tell them it's going to be really healing for you just to open your eyes and take this in, to get them to breathe. And, there's a lot of, the power of the family constellation is being seen. And there's a lot of coming up against that resistance, denial, whatever you want to call it. One of the models for that healing talks about is this, there's a situation that is blocked, and so you can say that's frozen. From the Jungian perspective, our emotions, emotion, it has motion in it. They're meant to be felt. They're meant to move through us. They're meant to fully grieve them, fully embrace them. But when we resist, they get frozen. And trauma is basically frozen. When a trauma happens, we say, no, this can't be happening. And that no locks things into the system. So one of the first steps of growth is always accepting who you are, accepting that what happened.
Right,
for so kind of saying yes to it, not, agreeing that we wanted it or anything, but just that what happened. What is what is. So getting over resistance, getting over denial. and then you can allow the healing to take
happen.
place, and people come to a much more gentle, much less judgmental place about themselves and about others. Particularly in our culture, often people have a lot of judgments about their parents. Since we were children, we think, why don't they see and know all our needs? And we kind of view them as these gods. And since they aren't perfect people, we end up having a lot of anger and resentment. And in this work, we get a chance to kind of have people stand in their shoes. And you get to see, oh my goodness, well, they were burdened by so many different things.
Sure.
And they weren't necessarily parented well by their parents. So they didn't know. And so you drop a lot of judgments, and that's
helps them to identify.
Huge healing step.
Oh wow! So are you one of the only people that do this in the DC area?
No. There's a DC Hellinger Institute that I trained at, and it's a big community worldwide.
Okay.
Family constellation work.
Okay. This is something I think a lot of people need.
Yeah,
I know.
it's growing.
I know in my own experience, I did family genealogy for many years, and I had issues with both my parents, and so doing the genealogy, it helped me to recognize that a lot of the patterns or behaviors from my parents came from their parents, and so on and so forth and so forth.
This is what we're seeing. There's all this stuff that gets passed down. It's nice to have a picture of your parents when they were children, because then you just see them in this innocent form, and it's harder to project your anger and stuff onto them. They came into this world sweet, innocent kids, just like you were, and just to have an altar at your home of your ancestors, and to think, I had the right parents for me. If I hadn't had those parents, I wouldn't be who I am. So they must be the right ones for me. And just to honor all the... And in America, we have this sort of David Copperfield syndrome. My life started on such and such a date, and we always are thinking forward, not realizing that we're standing on the shoulders of so many generations going back. And here in America, if you weren't Native American, you were an immigrant of some kind. And you wouldn't leave your home, where in those days there was no telephone and email or anything to... you just left behind. Everything. There was something traumatic that happened usually that made people leave everything and come to America. So our whole country has deep immigrant trauma that... often when you discover what was going on in the country that they moved from, there were often serious, traumatic, so many wars and famines and various things that have happened throughout history. So there can be deep traumatic roots, and also in our country we had our own civil war. I mean, there's just so many
family fighting against family,
things that are there. So a lot to be healed. And of course with slavery, post-traumatic slavery trauma, and I mean, millions of America has deep
and it's still growing, because now you have with everything that's happening in politics right now, with with the dreamers,
and it's interesting to take a look at the astrological perspective. So here in 2018 we're having Pluto in Capricorn, and that's causing a lot of deep transformation of structures like banking and deep societal governmental structures. And so there's a lot of shadow material, a lot of the things that aren't working anymore, that are breaking down. And particularly 2018 is kind of the beginning of the end, in terms of there's a lot of things that are falling away, and there's a new thing emerging. We're in kind of an 18-year cycle that started in 2001 with 9/11 and all that. And for the U.S. chart, that was like bringing in 18 years of war, the different terrorism and economic challenges. So we're going to have another 3 years of, and particularly the next 3 years are going to be economically challenging. And 2020 is when we can kind of get out of this cycle for the country. And it's all for the good. There's basically that which is no longer working is being exposed right now. And this year there's going to be a lot of, we got everything from the Me Too movement. There's a lot of stuff coming to light, a lot of chickens coming home released, a lot of things.
Bringing some bad stuff out.
Yeah,
so you can work
to
the
be
good stuff in.
exposed, and those who have been abusing their power and things like that will be seen for what they are, and we're finding out new, better ways to move forward as a society and as a world.
Right.
And there's so much change, and it's happening so quickly now.
So is anything going to happen with the Republicans and the Democrats? As far as I'm like seeing eye to eye or on the same page?
There's polarity. We're in a time of extreme polarization and extreme. It's good though. I mean, so it exposes who's really the exploiters, who's really being exploited.
Sure.
And all that becomes crystal clear. And so we're moving towards where people realize we need to find something that works for everybody. We everything's broken. Our health care is broken. Everything. So it's all happening for a reason, and it's really a positive evolution in the long run.
That's awesome. I mean, it's not awesome that all this stuff is happening, but it is awesome. All this information that you're sharing,
the astrological perspective.
But I'm sure by 2020 things are not going to be like ideal or
no, that's in the birth. That's why this is saying the beginning of the end. We're closing out a chapter, and that's where
starting a new.
And these are the birth pains that we're going through.
Oh wow.
So
wow.
This is all very long cycles. No, they take decades. They take a long time to merge and come forth.
Well, we've come to the end of the show, so thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
We'd love to definitely have you back again later on.
Yeah, great.
So is there anything that you want to share with people?
So I have my healing center there in the Arlington Falls Church area. Just go to astrodc.com, ASTRODC.com, and I see clients doing craniosacral therapy and individual clients doing family constellation work. And then I do astrology readings, so you get your own personal chart and see how these influences are affecting your life. And what's coming up, the transits and different things.
Great. And there's also randygoldberg.org?
Yeah, it's all the same.
It's all the same thing?
Yeah, randygoldberg.org, healingdc.com. They all point to my one website.
Great. Well, if you're just tuning in now, make sure you catch us on the web at www.potluck-online.org. And we will see you next time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is great.
Yeah.